Guy's German here wants to dock the country. Oblige him.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
What'd they put in your kibble this morning?
Yo, Adrian, let me rock you.
Why do you suppose I just hurled a chair at your head, Neiman?
Why so serious?
This is the guy behind the guy behind the guy.
When you're working through finding the right people in your life, it can be tough in a digital world. With swiping apps, digits, it can be confusing. Well, on the Al Travis Show, we have Heather Dugan, our relationship expert, to help with all your relationship questions.
We have so much to just talk about with Heather Dugan. Heather, how are you?
I am well. We still got that humidity going on here. It is hot, Al.
Yesterday was miserable. Tried golfing. I think it was only 86, 87 degrees, but felt 102 or something because you could walk through the air. You felt it. It was that bad. Temps dropping today. Humidity still up there, but it's going to get better. We'll get there.
Oh, thank you.
I got two things. One, I want to talk about this date we left you with, everyone hanging last time. But first, we're friends now on the Facebook thing, so I can stalk you. You made it easy. What's with the weird...
My garden.
Gardens. Yeah, you got a bucket of stuff. You're all complaining the flowers didn't grow, but all the bulbs are in the bucket, so how do they grow?
The weirdest thing. I thought I was protecting a bunny nest in the spring. Like a little bit of fur shows up. It's by this big landscape rock. And I'm just, I'm really excited and watching for bunnies. No bunnies come. And coincidentally, none of my spring bulbs that I planted came up. So I'm like, I did it right. I made sure I pointed the right end down because yes, I have made that mistake before. And I'm digging to move some things around the other day because the humidity was finally, I guess I finally got up brave enough to do it out in the heat. But I start digging up bulbs. And I mean, not just one or two or three that were in the area. I ended up, I have no idea how many I have. I quit finally collecting them. It was more bulbs, Al, than I ever put in the ground in my whole front area.
Well, where were you finding them? What do you mean? They're just lying around?
Near the rock. It's like a stash. So I thought there was a bunny, but I think that I have just like totally ruined some squirrel or chipmunk's winter plans for food. This was their food pantry and they are now all in my bucket and there's still more down there, Al. I gave up. It was so many. And I can't return them to the neighbors. No. Because these aren't all mine. These came from neighbors too, I'm sure. But my rock was the chosen, Do
you don't have dogs then, do you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Right now.
Because you'll hate rabbits if you do. Under my porch, cute little rabbit. It's a cute little room. Now they're rabbits and more all the time, and it drives the dog literally bananas. I mean, it's not good. You don't want rabbits. Rabbits are not good for the environment. They should be in the woods.
They're cute though. I mean, when you think of the alternatives, I've had skunks. I prefer the rabbits. If we're going to put them on a scale, pick, right?
Yeah, there you go. But not those darn squirrels that are ripping up your garden. All right.
I know.
The other thing, last time we chatted, you were on your way to a date.
Meet and greet.
That was right. You had a weird name for it. That's right. The meet and greet. Which I found interesting because a lot of us call them dates, but yours is a meet and greet, much like the Chamber of Commerce does.
Yeah.
But you met. Okay, so can we get in? You met where? At a restaurant for a cocktail, a coffee. What was it?
That was the plan. Well, and I call it meet and greet because I had not met this person in person. Met them in person. We'd had a phone call. It was an online connection.
Just one phone call?
Well,
and how long was that? Like 3 hours like you do when you're 14?
No. I at this point, Al, I have dated. I have been single for a lot. I've dated. I know kind of what I'm looking for and whether, and I just hate to drag it out because then it's hard if you just like, sure. I don't like it out. If it's worth talking a second time, why not in person if you can keep it reasonable and close.
This intrigues me. So what gets you past the phone call with Heather? He's got a job. Doesn't sound like an axe murderer. What is it that gets you by that?
To talk about. He sparked curiosity, and it was worth checking out. So I'm walking into the restaurant a couple minutes early, and I did get a nice compliment on the way in. That's always a good thing. Somebody liked what I was wearing. Don't ask me what now. But okay, so I walk in. And he's already there. He's seated in the back at a high top.
You knew what he looked like? I mean, somehow it was online.
Yeah, you get pictures online. Yeah, this is from a website, a dating website. Okay. So I go back and he's sitting there and, There are not like 2 empty glasses of whatever beside him. So that's a good, he hasn't been there day drinking already or anything.
Or they clean up really quickly, which is nice at the restaurant.
True,
you don't
the
know.
restaurant,
Okay.
right. But he seemed, reasonable. We start off and we each have a glass of wine and
Now, do you get the feeling that I'm going to bust this down because I'm loving this.
Yeah.
So you go in, you sit down. Does he stand to greet you? Is it
oh yeah, he pulled out my chair.
Old man hug or a handshake?
I don't think we had physical contact. I mean, it was just to pull out the chair for me. It was nice to meet you and all that.
And then do you get the impression he drinks wine? This is where I'm looking for moves. I don't like wine. Have I had wine? Yeah, fine, I can do it. But if I'm going to have a cocktail, it's not a glass of wine. Was he a wine drinker in your opinion, or was he trying to schmooze with you? Okay.
No, he actually selected a good one. I chose the same one. He knew what he knew his way around the wine list. Okay. That was fine. So, we chat a little bit, and then he points out, we're drinking. We should have something, and an appetizer's fine. He mentions like 3 that he knows are really good there. I'm like, I say, either one of these 2 would be great. That's fine. Well, he orders.
And what was your choice? Was it pizza, the appetizer? I love those, or was it some vegetable thing?
It was a couple. He ordered both of the things I said sounded fine, and one was like a hummus with warm pita and crudités. And then the other was like shrimp wrapped in prosciutto on risotto. So it was good. Yeah.
We're weeding out the week. A guy gonna buy a shrimp cocktail like that? Okay, that's good. Nothing wrong. Okay.
Suggestions. Yeah. So and I always like absorbent food if I'm drinking anything. So, it's just smart water and absorbent food. Okay. So we're talking and it's reasonable for a few minutes, but then we're getting into it a little further and I find a red flag. Okay. So, yeah. Well, red flag. He's been married twice and that does happen, but he talks about how the second wife what was the word he used? Ground him into getting married. They dated forever. So it was like he was the victim of his choice. Okay. So, and when anybody is the victim of their choices, they're going to keep making bad decisions because they're not learning from them, right? He even told this bad joke. He laughed uproariously. And I'm thinking, okay, I've seen this before.
Well, when you say bad joke, was it a bad joke in that it wasn't funny? Was it a bad joke distasteful? Was it a bad joke that he's the only one who really got it and he's laughing hysterically at his own joke? None of this is good.
Okay. Well, it was an old one that I had heard and I was willing to, smile and, kind of, haha. But it was in relation, he was using it to describe his wife, his ex-wife. So that was a big negative. And then, yes, he laughed and laughed and laughed like he'd never heard it before.
So let me ask you this.
I can know you've heard it before because you've told us many times, I think. Yeah.
Where you're at in this situation, I find this interesting. Why in God's green earth would you discuss your past relationships? I mean, do you go back and let me tell you everything about my ex? I mean, I'm not sure what is that just
no.
It's not normal. Okay, good.
No, I do like to know, have you been married? I don't need details, but do you have children, right? These are basics.
Yeah.
Some people, I think as soon as he said he'd been married twice, I think he felt a need to explain why. And the why was all about what everybody else did. Okay. So, and that to me, I've done my therapy, Al. I know that's not good.
It's just not conversation. It's back to, I dated humans back in the day. No reason to talk about them. I mean, we just move on and, okay.
All right, but here's somebody that can't, bigger picture, here's somebody that cannot take responsibility for decisions they've been a part of. Okay. So I'm realizing this is not going to, but I've got an hour, I'm going to give him the hour. That's respectful.
You're going to eat the shrimp cocktail for God's sake till they're done. We're going to eat.
That is what I hoped. This prosciutto wrapped shrimp, and it was on a really nice bed of risotto. It was just really delicious. Okay. And I'd had one.
Hungry.
Yeah, it was good. And then what came next? Oh, he starts talking about this really great Italian place near where he lives. And I think, he's efficient, he wants to take me there to dinner and that's not going to happen. But at this point, I already know that. And he says, do you like pasta? And I said, well, it's not my go-to. I said, I do at home, I'll do, and you're going to laugh at this, Al, but I like the chickpea and lentil like pastas, the ones because they're higher protein. And, if I'm going to have it, restaurants don't have that. I like the flavor of them. Okay. Judge me, whatever.
I did. I'm judging you all day long and Thursday
I know
too.
You are. Okay. Back at you, Al. He's had limited taste buds. That's okay. He burned them all
Good.
off on.
Before you
Candy
do the
Girls.
next,
Yeah,
because this
okay.
this has got to go somewhere. You know you're out, but you haven't let him know he's out because he's already trying to plan the next date. Let's
Right.
go to break and use that as the hook to keep
Okay.
people listening.
yeah,
I'm
this
very
gets
excited to hear how
This
this
gets
ends.
good.
It's Heather Dugan, our relationship expert on the Al Travis Show.
Dust from gravel roads and driveways does more than make your car dirty inside and out. It gets down into your lungs, and it's bad for your health. Now there's an environmentally friendly solution for your dust problems. It's called Dust Lock. Dust Lock can control all your summer dust problems with just one application. Protect your vehicle and your lungs. Learn more at dustlock.com.
Think about it. Now that school's out for the summer, how are Minnesota students doing? Not very well. Minnesota ACT scores fell again last year and are the lowest they've been in 10 years. In fact, fewer than half of Minnesota students can either read or do math at grade level. Think about it. We used to brag about our schools. Now we're losing to states like Mississippi. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
Talk amongst friends. The Al Travis Show. Nothing but talk.
We've got our Heather Dugan in, our relationship expert, finding out how this date went for her. Because, okay, so because this guy has already made some weird references to his past, married twice, blaming other people for their stuff, already looking to you for another date before you're even done with this one, I find interesting.
Yeah.
When you look at you, though, and how now you're dressed to the nines. Somebody already said that. An independent
casual,
observer said you look wonderful. But other than that, when you look at your end of the conversation, do you know if you're throwing up any red flags? Can you look back at that and think, no? Because he was looking for next date. You're doing well.
Yeah, I would probably see a red flag on me somewhere just because none of us are perfect. But I mean, it just depends on what the mix is of the two people together. I think that kind of could bring out things. I don't know. I am a stable I can blame myself as needed for things and then fix it, right?
Sure, one
But,
cocktail in and a shrimp cocktail, by the way. I don't think that counts.
Well, it was.
Did you order a second?
No.
Okay.
We had, so we're finishing the glass of wine and you're diminishing the shrimp out. This was prosciutto wrapped shrimp on risotto. It was delicious. Okay.
Like I've never had that before. I have no idea. I'm allergic to shrimp. It sounds fantastic.
It wasn't on
All
your
right.
plate. I know. So
Yep.
you didn't taste it.
All right.
Okay.
But you're getting
So we're
done with
sharing,
that.
which
So
would
now,
kill you.
okay.
So we're there and so we're talking and he says, well, he mentions this Italian restaurant and he says, well, he doesn't really eat pasta himself because he wants to keep healthy figure and all that stuff or whatever.
Was he a relatively fit young man?
He was a fit guy. I mean, he seemed to be, although I had questions after the rest of this conversation. So the next thing he says is, I don't know if he did the thing about him still wearing the same size, but some guys do that. But he said that he eats every day. He has a boiled egg for breakfast every single day. Now that's not, some people aren't big breakfast eaters and it's protein. It's fine. But the next part is what really hit me. He said, and for lunch, I have a head of romaine lettuce. He said, and I looked at him waiting to see, some days I turn it into a Caesar salad. Some days it's a chicken, but no, Al, he goes to Costco, gets a 6-pack and of lettuce. And I want to tell him, hey, they have tomatoes there too. But he says he takes to the office and he sits at his desk and he eats a head of romaine lettuce, one leaf at a time. And that is lunch.
No way. OMG. Psycho.
Okay. So, well, and everybody's different. And I'm not. This
no,
was a nice
don't
person.
stop giving. No. You see, that's the problem with you. You are too darn nice. That's psycho time. I eat a whole head of lettuce every day.
Okay. Well, people have different things. But my son did say later, he said, it's not so. Maybe not as weird that he does it, but it's really weird that he told you thinking it was perfectly normal.
See that?
So there I am.
Crazy people don't know they're crazy. They don't know it.
But here's my dilemma, Al. Okay. We're sitting there. I already know that I love this shrimp. And I'm thinking also, this man needs enough energy to walk out of this restaurant, get in his car and drive home because I don't want to have to be, because this man is here eyeing this shrimp like it's his last, it's probably his first real meal of the day, right? He's had an egg and a head of romaine lettuce. So I had to do the sacrifice. I'd had like one shrimp and like 2 or 3 more of these are mine. He said so, we're splitting it. We're sharing it. And I had to stick with the hummus then. I felt like I just, in the name of his health, for his health, because the man needed some more protein by then. And in order to be sure he didn't have a medical emergency in the restaurant beside me, I needed to let him have the good food. So
this is nuts.
That was it.
That's crazy, Bill. You're scared. Okay. This is not the right guy. If you're worried. Okay. So how do you let him? So you get done. You didn't get the rest of the shrimp. So you're already owed something in this whole thing. When it comes to checkout time, how do you end it? How do you say, well, sure was nice, Bob. Catch you on the slide.
Well, we just, we didn't really do. I think I said it was great. It was a good conversation. It was very interesting. I always learn a lot, Al. Boy, did I learn a lot that night. And then the next day, of course, there was and I thanked him. And before I even had a chance to send, and it's not like you want to push people away, but you want to thank them and then let them know the door is closed. Okay. Well,
so it's a text. You sent a text.
On that, it's a one meeting thing. But before I did, he was he sent something, kind of looking for the next date or whatever. And I did. And the problem, I don't know. I had another one recently where it's like, I didn't get to answer in time before there was a barrage of them because, but I just kind of gently said, that thought he was a great person, et cetera, but I didn't think it had kind of the elements that we both were looking for and that would sustain a long-term relationship. So
we only have 1 minute. So here's my thing. You have to have done this then. You had to have tell him why so he can get better. Do you go, you freak, eat an entire head of lettuce? No one does that. That is crazyville stuff. No lettuce, no sauce on it. You're crazy. That's why. So he can fix it? Or did you let him go on to the next gal?
So tempting, but I have to, if somebody asks, I would share in a very kind way what they might do. But I mean, this is who he is. He just, so I don't know that that's something that, some people, he needs to find somebody that loves lettuce or, I don't know, honestly, on that, or, maybe he drinks a lot of supplements. I don't know, but this is how he lives his life. Yeah.
The amount of water he has to drink to keep all that moving through the system has got to be amazing.
I'm glad it's water and not wine, because then we would have really had a problem. But yeah,
we're out of time. Next week we'll talk about those 2 things you sent me because they're fantastic. We'll talk about those, but I had to find out about your date.
Oh yeah,
Heather.
Okay,
way to hang in there. We'll find you somebody. I promise.
Thank you.
Heather Dugan, our relationship expert. HeatherDugan.com.
If it's your turn to host a game.